Do you ever feel invisible at one time it was supposed to be a celebration? Picture the scene. While most of the people are gathered together, exchanging laughter, gifts, and hugs the body in a warm hug, you can see it all away from, as a spectator of a film that has not been invited to take part in. This is the feeling that a lot of people are living to be forgotten by their own families, just as they should be together, and to strengthen that bond. For me, this is just the beginning of an experience that has changed my viewpoint on love, care, and deprivation. On a date that symbolizes hope, renewal, and hope for a fresh start, I have to face that it hurt you deeply, a wound that is invisible. That is, in truth, it was a great lesson. And what makes it even more difficult to understand, a lot of times, that the exclusion in disguise for the care or protection, it's more common than you might think. Have you ever gone through this? Have you ever felt like, even when you are physically present, he was dropped from the side, as if his presence would be a hindrance or a problem that unnecessary? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised and open their eyes to a reality that is often invisible, but it can deeply affect the people who live in this pain in silence. The most important thing to understand is that this story is not only mine, it reflects the universal question, which one generation to the next, and runs through the hearts. And then, to share in the experience, I want to let you know that no one should be left out of it, especially as they represent the union of hope and renewal. But before we dive into the pain that I felt and discovered that it has made me rethink everything, I want you to imagine a scenario. A person is happy, celebrating the arrival of a new era. As a person who is a part of that story, watching everything from the distance, without receiving the same love, the same amount of attention. It gets to me, because from here, you'll find out what really happened that night, and how it was reflected on my own life, my emotions, and my view of the world. And what comes next will make you think about your own experiences, and perhaps, to wake up to a new awareness of the power of inclusion, respect, and love. Are you ready for this journey? So, here we go. If you identify with any of the time of this story, or feels inspired by some discussion that came up in here, leave it here in the comments what you scored, or how do you live with these issues in your life. Your opinion and experiences are essential in order to create an exchange, the true, and to strengthen the community, which seeks to understand, embrace, and learn from it together. Enjoy video. It is also a way to show off this content. It makes sense to you and helps you spread the word of this message is so important to most people, just like you. They want a world that is more compassionate and aware of it. Whether you're an offhand comment, liking, or subscribing to the channel, you're going to get this gap will continue to grow, and in taking this discussion forward, inspiring real change in the society. Here, every voice matters, and every gesture of support is making a difference. So take advantage of this time to reflect, share your story, and feel a part of something bigger than themselves, a true current, to empathize and to hope. After all, what's next promises to have even more depth, emotion, and discovery. And in its presence, it is critical that all of this happens in the form of a sincere and meaningful. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that you are looking for does not happen by chance. It comes from a deeper understanding of who we are, in fact, the decisions we make every day, and the impact that these choices have on our journey. Many of the times, we stuck to some sort of routine that is invisible, a shadow that prevents us from seeing beyond what is in front of us, as if we are walking, without notice, to the script to recognize that govern our lives. And this is the shade. Most of the time, it is powered by the limiting beliefs, fears, and deep, and in a rather distorted view of who we really are able to achieve. The truth is hidden behind a lot of these limitations. It is how we understand our own unique stories to tell. The narrative that we tell ourselves is often full of insecurities, past failures, and unfulfilled expectations. And, to reinforce this narrative, we end up creating a sort of vicious cycle, where everything seems to be conspiring to make us grind to a halt, stuck to our own questions. But the biggest revelation is that people don't realize is that these stories can be rewritten, which, to our mind, this was a remarkable transformation when you decide to take control of the script. At this point, it is crucial to understand that real change starts from the inside out. No point in just trying to modify the behavior or give you tips, surface, if, at the core, we still have a scarcity mentality or a sense of powerlessness. It is necessary, first of all, to go on a journey of self-discovery, to come to grips with the truths that we would rather ignore, and to recognize our own strengths, hidden. Too many people give up because they don't realize that the biggest obstacle standing in the way, as it interprets its own set of limitations. When you change your perspective, everything changes. The impact of this change is so great that it echoes through all the areas of your life by creating a new reality from a decision to look for and courage. During this one day behind the scenes of our mind to reveal a series of stories that you often don't even realize that they are in shaping our actions. In these stories, which seem to be so small that in truth they carry a great potential for impact. They may be the ones who feed off of the fear of the risk that the warrant for the property, or that keep you on the loop of the auto-sabotage on the go. But at the same time, they also can be rewritten. It can be deconstructed and replaced with stories of hope, courage, and purpose. It is is as if, behind every decision, it was a choice of silent, determines whether or not we're going to move forward, or stay stuck, if you're going to embrace change, or to refuse to grow. And the choice is often affected by factors of which we are not always conscious. For example, the environmental impact of our emotions, and the environment in which we live, the people with whom we live, and even to our life experiences that we accumulate over time. All of this in the form of a complex mosaic, in which each part influences the next one. When we are able to see that the mosaic is clear, we started to realize that our freedom lies in our ability to choose which parts to put in each space. And it is this freedom, it is a powerful tool for transformation, which allows us to reprogram the mind, and therefore our actions. That is why it is so important to understand that change is not a matter of willpower or a to follow recipes, ready to go. It requires an open-mindedness, a willingness to ask questions about what they have been taught, and the courage to take responsibility for their own decisions. The more aware we are of this, the greater will be our ability to create a new version of ourselves, one that is not to be defined by the obstacles of the past, but that it is shaped by our choices in the present. In the background, it all comes down to this one powerful truth. Our story can be written in a completely different way. If you decide to take control of the script and understand it, the transformation begins in your mind, the truth hidden. Sometimes, you just need to be revealed to you. Everything starts making sense. And thus, to exploit the behind the scenes of our journey, we realize that the transformation is not a final destination, but an ongoing process of discovery and reinventisons. Every step we take, every decision consciously, brings us closer to a more authentic and aligned with your true potential. And when you do that, you start to realize the impact of our change in the echo, not only in the US, but also in the people around us, creating a flow of inspiration that it becomes self-perpetuating. And in it, the very essence of our day-to-day reveals, he or she is above all, an opportunity to connect with what you really are, beyond the mask, in addition to the stories, or both, in addition to those things that have been required. It is this connection with our inner selves that gives us the strength to move forward, even in the face of adversity, and that allows us to turn every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic, because they understand the power of reinvention is the one who truly makes a difference in the lives of those who decide to change it. And in this quest for authenticity, many of the revelations that come up behind the scenes, which often remain hidden from view, but they have the potential to transform all of the things that we believe to be possible. When we start to build on those behind the scenes of the transformation, we realize that many of our limitations are not imposed from the outside world, but is, in fact, arise from deep within us, in the form of a deep-seated beliefs, fears, quiet, and a routine in mind that, many times, it seems to control the other. It is as if we are stuck on a circuit different from vicious, repeating patterns, which have been shaped over the years, without even realizing that we are able to reschedule for this story. And this is where it goes to the essence of the change, is make the conscious decision to challenge those hidden truths, to make room for a new vision of themselves, a view that is more in line with what you actually want to achieve. This is a journey of self-discovery. A lot of times, he reveals that the biggest obstacle is in our own heads. Don't believe that you are capable of, for certain did not provide us with that success, it's a bit far away, or is restricted to a minority of people. The ideas, which seem to be harmless, they act as true as the walls invisible, which make it difficult for anyone breakthrough. And it's the most curious thing is that many of these beliefs have been built, and not based on verified facts, but the stories we hear of the experiences that we have as an absolute truth. It is as if it were an internal narrative that, over time, turned out to be a sort of a roadmap to a predefined, thus preventing us from exploring the full potential that exists within us all. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because they understand that the dimension of the impact of our internal decision-making in reality, is that it really does make a difference. When you begin to question those stories and to break down these old concepts, we are faced with a truth that hides many of the times it is forgotten that we are the authors of our own story. And that authorship does not need to be restricted to those pages that have already been written. We can, each and every day, rewriting the chapters to insert a new plot lines into the main plot. It is at this point that the transformation is no longer something foreign and goes on to be an in-house expertise, a change in attitude, which is reflected in the actions of a concrete type. On the journey, so it's not just about the goal or win results. It is, above all, about finding out who you really are behind the mask, the back of the limitations that have been imposed upon them by a society that often values of the surface in the immediate future, that it's easy. But the real impact happens when we open our eyes to the one who is behind these perceptions, when we allow ourselves to look beyond the obvious to understand the connections are invisible. They shape our choices, and our feelings and emotions. It's like we're uncovering the truth hidden, and a revelation that challenges everything we have been taught about in here. And in the process of discovery, in each and every step that we take to meet our own personal ghost of our worries, more deep, and it's put us into a higher level of self-awareness. This is a real transformation from the inside to the outside, where a change in the mindset is the catalyst that propels you to change the behavior. When we align our actions with our values of the real, and the impact is immediate and profound. The feeling of being in control of one's own story becomes more real, and it is this feeling that has the power to make our daily decisions, our life, our relationships, and, above all, to ourselves. However, this process does not happen at one time or another. It is a journey that requires courage, patience, and a portion of the autocompexão. After all, to rewrite the narrative of an internal means to confront the fears of the ancients, to challenge the beliefs that seem to be unbreakable and will often go out of their comfort zone. And it is precisely this discomfort is the potential for further growth, and evolution is true. When we got to keep the focus on the impact of the internal, realize that every obstacle, every doubt, every single moment of uncertainty, it is an opportunity to strengthen the mind. And so, slowly, it seemed to be impossible. It becomes a new reality, a new way of looking at the world and ourselves. With this revelation, this is more in-depth understanding. It teaches us that it is the transformation of a building and a daily choice that we make to each and every morning, when you rise up with the intent to become a better person, more aware, more in line with who you really are. And that, as simple as it may seem to you, it may have an impact that reverberates through the whole of our journey to shape every decision, every relationship, and every dream I've decided to pursue. Because deep down, it all comes down to our ability to see beyond what the eye can see, to understand the truth hidden behind the surface, and to act with courage in the face of this new understanding. And in that moment of reflection, it becomes a challenge. How would your life be if you could see beyond the limitations that you think you have? What truths are hidden, they are still to be discovered within you. And more importantly, how these findings may become a reality in a definitive way. After all, it is the real journey of transformation begins within each one of you, in the courage to look at yourself honestly and to decide, once and for all, that it is possible to rewrite the story. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because I think, on the back of every decision we make, there are a lot of invisible layers, which often take for granted. These layers are like behind the scenes of a theater, a place where everything that happens in the details, in the small ways, in all the excitement, that we are not able to measure it exactly, but they have a direct influence on what happens on the journey." And this is where the true transformation begins, with understanding that the way we act, our choices, and even our reactions, and have a source of the deepest and often deeply rooted in the standards, they don't even realize it, but they shape our entire reality. Many times people think that prevents us from moving forward, it's a matter of willpower, discipline, or from the external environment. But in fact, all of that is just the surface of the iceberg. Your true home is in the limiting beliefs that we have from the childhood, the stories we heard, and we believe as absolute truth, and you end up with a sort of built-in version of a preset script. When you can't understand these details, you get stuck in loops, which seem to be endless, as if we're doomed to make the same mistakes again, to feel that feeling of frustration and powerlessness, even when we try to change it. This is the true occult, that you just are able to see it, and that has made all the difference in the time to actually transform our way of thinking. And it is this revelation that comes from the deep understanding of this, is that the change is not just on the surface, with the specific actions or techniques, the fast lane. It takes place in the reconstruction of this narrative is built on a review of those stories that we tell ourselves, of course. It is like taking a journey of self-discovery, where every time a new discovery about who they really are and who we can be, it serves as a sort of portal to a new reality. When you begin to unravel those behind the scenes, to look more closely at our own risk, we perceive that everything is interconnected with our way of thinking, feeling, acting, and consequently have an impact on the world around us. And then, when you drill down in all of this, we realize that the impact of a change in its internal structure is much greater than we might have previously thought. It is not just a matter of improving particular aspects of their lives, but a true transformation in the essence of what is believed to be able to take over. With each revelation, each and every insight, it works like a piece of a puzzle that falls into place, creating a new perspective, new energy. This power is able to propel the stock, which before seemed to be impossible to open the doors that were closed from the inside, for the sake of a mindset that you don't have room for a new one. And, in the process, and what seemed to be an insurmountable obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth and evolution. Therefore, to understand these invisible layers, there are, and they have the power to influence all of this, is a major step in the journey of true transformation. When we begin to explore these racks built in, we can become more aware of our own choices, our emotions, and the impact they can have on the world by simply aligning our activities with a new understanding of ourselves. And it is precisely this discovery, which comes with a new force, a motivation that comes from within, that makes us move forward with more force, with more purpose, with the recognition that the real power of change is in our ability to puzzle out and rewrite our story in the interior. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey to get to know who you really are, will often reveal a layer that is not thought to exist. It is as if, over the years, we loaded up a mask and a story that was built on external influences, by the experiences of the past, by the expectations that have been laid down. And all of a sudden, when we begin to question this all, a light goes on. In this light, it is not something external, but it's a spark that comes from within, and with a quiet strength that pushes us to look inward, to face our own limitations and deep-seated beliefs. It is at this point that we begin to realize that our transformation is not dependent on external factors, the environment or the people around us, but most importantly, an internal decision, a decision to change the script, which, until then, had seemed set in stone. And it is powerful because it brings us to a deep reflection of our true essence, what keeps us going, without the mask. When you immerse ourselves in this world within, we begin to uncover hidden truths, often preferred to ignore out of fear or convenience. This may surprise some people, however, are the keys that will open the door to genuine change. It is as if the recognition of one's own limitations, which will also see in our power to take care of the one that appears when it is freed from the bondage of the others, had waited for us. This is a journey of self-discovery is, in effect, a silent revolution that is going on inside of each and every one. It is a transformation that begins in the mind, and if it extends to all areas of your life. To explore this deeper level, we can see the impact our decisions have on the way. Each choice, no matter how simple it may seem, bears the potential of rewriting the stories and creating a new path. And that realization is liberating because it gives us the power to take control of their own destiny, to shape a story that really reflects who we are and who we want to be. In this process, we have realized that real change doesn't happen from the outside in, but from the inside to the outside. It's a change of mindset that creates impact on our daily lives, in our actions, and consequently, on the results that we have achieved. Even so, it's not something that happens in an hour or so to the other one. It is a journey of revelation, continuous learning, which build up over time, each step along the way to reveal a fresh layer of self and a new opportunity for growth. And the more we deepen this connection with our inner selves, the more clear it becomes that the true transformation is about having the courage, the willingness to face our fears, and a genuine desire to improve. After all, it is at the heart of this process is the fact that we are able to rewrite our story, even though it appears to be written by others or be marked by hardship. The freedom to create a new chapter. It is, in essence, the us is moving forward with hope and confidence. And it is precisely this search for authenticity that often discover a strength they never imagined having, a power that comes from understanding that everything starts in our minds and in our willingness to change. When we were able to look beyond appearances and to the limitations imposed by the past, we have become the authors of our own, a transformation. And it's this journey of self-discovery leads us to question all the things that you have learned in previous lessons, and to challenge our own beliefs, and to open up space for a new narrative, one that is more in line with our dreams and our deepest beliefs. Because, after all, the greatest revolution that happens in our minds, in our sense of who we are and what we can accomplish when you decide to take control of our story, and without the fear of rewriting it all from scratch if need be. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we understand that our decision-making, and often, they are rooted in an invisible layer of conditioning and limiting beliefs that you may not always realize it consciously. These roots helps to shape our actions, our reactions, and, most of all, our view of the world. So, when do we begin to unravel those behind the scenes to internal? Everything seems to be changing in the figure below. It's as if, suddenly, a curtain was raised, revealing a scene that seemed to be far away or even invisible. This is a process of discovery that requires courage, because a lot of this belief have been built up over the years, influenced by experience, education, and even in our own attempts to protect against what we believe to be the unknown, the uncertain. But, in essence, that's all it is a mask we hide our true nature. And deep down, you know that there is much more to us than either of these two labels and the limitations that we have. It's like opening a secret door to a world of possibilities that have always been there, waiting for us to explore. To dive a little bit deeper, we find that the transformation is not merely a change of surface or in a simple decision-making the moment. It is, in fact, a silent revolution that begins in the mind, and it extends to every aspect of your life. It is a journey that requires patience and autocompixome because, oftentimes, when we are trying to change to a belief in the former, we find the resistance. It's like an immune system, which manifests itself in a variety of ways. The doubts, the fears, the desire to go back to what it's known for a more and more uncomfortable than it is. But when it persists, we found out that it is a sign that you are on the right track. Pull out what you need to be revisited, rewritten. The impact of this change is profound because it redefines our relationship with the world and with others, and most of all to ourselves. When you begin to question those truths that are hidden, we begin to see beyond what the eyes can pick up. You start to see the opportunities that have always been there, disguised as obstacles or limitations, self-imposed. This new approach as a lens that reveals reveals details before seen, giving us the chance to act in a way that is more conscious, more in line with our values and authentic. And in the process, many of the revelations come behind the scenes of our mind and helps us to understand that true power lies in our ability to decide which to accept and which to turn. It's not about to deny the past, but rather learn from it, to understand its roots, and in a thoughtful way, in a way that is more in line with who you really are or want to become one. This is a journey of self-discovery, is a continuous reconstruction of a painting that reveals itself gradually, layer by layer, until the final image is the one that reflects our inner selves more fully and free of the limitations that are unnecessary. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the connection between our emotions and our decision-making. It is a bridge to many times we do not understand. Emotions act as an early warning system, an internal compass, which, if ignored, can lead to choices that are automatic, which reinforces the cycle of limitations. When we look at these emotions and the more attention, without judgment, we can begin to understand that they are just a sign of something that needs to be taken care of or transformed. This understanding gives us the power to act with greater clarity, to choose the answer that you really are in alignment with our deepest desires, rather than to react to impulse, to the external environment. And at the same time, we begin to realize that the journey of transformation also has an impact on the people around you. The change in its internal structure is reflected in our relationships, in the way we connect with others, and even in the way we face the challenges of day-to-day. It is as if, in the rewriting of our history, to the mental, to create a new narrative that can inspire others to do the same, creating an impact that extends beyond ourselves. This is one of the greatest truths that are hidden from the few, to realize that the real change happens from the inside to the outside, and that is, to change our mindset, we are contributing to a world that is more aware and more empathetic. And so, as we've explored in these behind-the-scenes to internal, we are faced with the essence of our true liberty, a freedom that does not depend on external factors or circumstances, but that it arises in a decision to take control of our thoughts, emotions, and above all, to our final destination. It is a journey of self-discovery that never ends, because with each layer of discovery, with new opportunities opening up before us, inviting us to go on this never-ending quest for a life that is more authentic, more in tune with who we really are. And along the way, we have found that the greatest impact on our ability to accept who you are right now as we build who we become tomorrow. To complete this discussion, I want to let a seed of thought. A lot of times, the greater the processing that happens in the most subtle, the courage to face what they would prefer to avoid it, and the willingness to rewrite our history and authenticity. After all, it is the journey to the truth is hidden within us. It is, above all, a journey of self-love and respect to our own emotions, and the courage to break out of your comfort zone. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that change is not a destination, but a continuous movement and evolution, which allows us to live more fully, consciously, and in line with our commitment deeper. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation we seek is not the case with only the motions or changes in time sensitive. It comes from a more in-depth understanding of a truly connected with who we are of the essence. Many times, when we are so stuck in our routines, our own high standards, and to the expectations of others that you forget to listen to what it's really vibrant in all of us. And it is precisely because of this silence, this time for thought and reflection, all of which start with the revelations of the most impressive. When we stop to have a look on the inside, with no judgment, and we've begun to realize that many of the beliefs that we have are, in fact, constructs that have been imposed on the course of a lifetime, and that many of these beliefs are limiting our ability to move forward and create the new circumstances and live with authenticity. The truth is hidden, often hidden behind layers of fear, doubt, or have a routine in anesthesia. And the more we allow ourselves to tap into these nooks built in, the clearer it becomes that what binds us is not external reality, but it is our very own interpretation of it. It's as if we're wearing glasses that filter out the light of truth, while leaving everything else the dark and confusing at best. But when you remove these types of sunglasses, spring colors, the possibilities and the feeling of freedom that seem to be far away, this is a journey of self-discovery takes us to look beyond the surface. You understand that it's the true transformation is about having the courage to face what they have avoided. It is a pain in the former, a feeling of insecurity, or a decision you put off by the fear of the unknown. And then comes the question of the impact of this change in the interior you have in your life. Because as we align with our inner selves, we can begin to attract the opportunities, relationships, and experiences that reflect this new vibration. It is as if a new frequency is to be turned on, and everything around us starts to resonate in harmony with it. This time, in this connection, the deeper it is, the you that has made all the difference in the trajectory of its evolution. But, in order to achieve this level of clarity, we need to be willing to give up all the masks that we wear to protect ourselves, to face our own shadow, and to embrace the vulnerability, such as a friend too. The vulnerability, which is often seen as a weakness. It is, in fact, the shortest path to authenticity. And if you allow yourself to be be vulnerable, you will find that you are not alone in your journey. That is, there is a greater power in their ability to open up, to accept who you truly are without masks or pretenses. This would be the impetus for a real transformation, as it comes from the inside to the outside of an informed decision as to connect with their deepest truth. And it is precisely at this point that the signs are starting to emerge, bringing the insights that will change our perception of the world and of ourselves. When you understand that your change is not an isolated event, but a continuous process, we can begin to see that each and every step, however small it may seem, it is an essential part of this development. Each and every decision, with the courage, all the time auto-questionamento, every time I choose to act with love and respect for ourselves, we contribute to the creation of a new reality. And that reality is shaped by the mind, of growth, of hope, and a constant quest for authenticity. And so, the journey is no longer a struggle against something outside and goes to a dance in a harmonious between who we are and what we want to make it. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation involves, as well as to understand the behind the scenes of This Is Our Story on the inside. Behind the scenes, which often remain hidden, silent, but they all have a huge impact on our lives. They are the deep-seated beliefs, the experiences that had not been resolved, and the emotions that reprimimos, and which, unwittingly, to shape our decisions and actions. Get to know these behind the scenes as the unraveling of the scripts hidden in our history, allowing us to rewrite the chapters that we limit or prevent us from moving forward. And, in doing so, we found a quiet strength, a power to change that which already exists within each of us is only waiting for the right time to be turned on. This is more in-depth understanding leads us to realize that the transformation is not something that happens from the outside to the inside, but on the reconstruction of our inner world. And in doing so, we woke up to a new understanding of reality, and a better understanding of what is really important in our journey. On the basis of this clarity, we can make more informed decisions that are aligned with our essence. Our actions will reverberate in our lives in surprising ways. And it is this movement of self-improvement. It becomes a real revolution in the silence, one that starts from within, but that it affects everything around us. In order for this transformation to be sustainable, it is also necessary to understand that it will require a shift in mindset, with a paradigm shift in that it frees us from the constraints of the past and prepare us for a future that is more aware and in full. This is a change of mentality. It's a sort of master key that opens the door to possibilities previously unimaginable. It is at this point that the behind the scenes reveal themselves more clearly, because when you understand the inner workings of we proceed to work with more intention and purpose. And so, we take steps each and every time more firmly in the direction of your true potential, and have left behind the shackles that keep us from living a full and true. He writes in, I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that we're talking about goes far beyond that of a simple change at the surface. It goes to the essence of who we are, the way we see the world, and especially in how we choose to act in the face of adversity. It is as if, to understand the behind the scenes on the same machine, internal, have to have a better understanding of the impact of the decision is on the way. And in that moment, you realize that everything is connected, our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and as a consequence, the results you achieve or fail to pass. This is a journey of self-discovery reveals the truth hidden. We are the creators of our own destiny, and that too often are the major constraints to come to the inside of a mindset that has not yet been processed. When we think about the behind the scenes of our mind, we can begin to understand that each individual's belief in the negative, each and every question that we have, it works like a locked door that only opens up when we are able to see beyond what our physical eyes see them. And in this broader view is the result of a change of mind, a conscious decision to see the possibilities rather than the difficulties. It's as if, when you find out the inner workings of our brain, we could just hacking into it to work for us, creating a new reality based on the thoughts and more positive, more in line with our own dreams and beliefs. It is at this point that the transformation to become a real revolution in the it, because it doesn't depend on external factors such as, but to a change in its internal structure, which echoes the way we act, speak, and relate to one another. And then, to deepen this understanding, we realize that true strength lies in our ability to decide for ourselves. We have to take control of your emotions and create a positive impact, not only on our lives, but also the lives of those around us. This is a change of mentality. It's like a seed that can be planted with intention and care. It flowers into concrete actions that seem small, but in fact it has a ripple effect, turning it all around. It is during this process that we've found that authenticity is of the most power it can have, because when we are true to who you are, in fact, attract opportunities to you before would have seemed impossible. And all of this is only possible when you have the courage to look inward, confronting our fears, our limitations, and choosing a new narrative for our time in history. That is why it is so important to understand this paradigm shift does not happen overnight, but it is a journey of self-discovery and constant, with each step taken with intention to feed this new mindset, creating a virtuous cycle of growth in self-confidence. things. And then, over the course of the journey, behind the scenes of working at home, it is becoming more and more clear, which showed that the greatest impact comes from the inside out. When we align our thoughts, emotions, and actions, we become the protagonist of your own transformation, which is capable of creating a life that you want, a life that reflects who we are in fact. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this understanding leads us to a dimension where the possibilities are multiplied in an amazing manner. From the moment that you realize that it all starts in our mind, we begin to exercise more control over our choices, our decisions, and in particular, about the impact we can make in our own history. And in that journey of transformation, which is often invisible to the eyes of the outside world, is revealed in the fine detail of our day-to-day, in the way we think, the way we react to situations, and the courage to keep going even when everything seems to be falling apart. It is in this movement that we found out that real change is not in luck or chance, but is the decision-making every day to become a better person, to learn from their mistakes, and to persevere, each time with a look back to what really matters to you. As they delve deeper in the realm of possibilities within, you start to see the truth hidden behind the success and happiness for full. That is, in fact, it's a matter of alignment. The alignment of who we are, what we believe, and what we do. When this harmony that happens in all kinds of for a more light and natural, the obstacles become challenges, and the questions are transformed into the lessons, and the doors of that before seem to be closed and to open it with ease, because right now, we have clarity of our purpose. This is clearly born from the constant effort of self-knowledge and a genuine desire to grow and develop and realize that our greatest strength lies in our ability to transform limiting thoughts to be a source of inspiration. And it is precisely at this point in the journey, the transformation and becomes a true adventure, full of revelations and discoveries. Each and every step that we take brings us closer to a more authentic to ourselves, or from an earlier version that did not allow him to take at what other people are thinking. But if you connect deeply with your values, goals, and dreams, more real. This connection is what gives us the courage to continue to face obstacles with resilience and celebrate every small victory to you, knowing that each and every one of them is a step in the ladder that leads to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. During this time, a look behind the scenes of our minds, and if they become a never-ending source of power, as we understand its inner workings, we can reprogram our beliefs, our emotions, and our actions, creating a reality that seemed to be far away or out of reach. This is a change of perspective. It also reveals an important point: the importance of being patient and self-discipline. We know that true transformation takes time, dedication, and a dose of courage to face our own limitations and concerns. But, at the same time, we realize that each and every effort is well worth it, because we're building something solid that will withstand the storms of the external and the internal. And when you understand it, that's the most lasting impact happens when we align our actions with our deepest values. We begin to act in a more intentional, mindful, that every decision will shape the next destination. It is this constant movement of self-discovery that we realize that our true freedom lies in the ability to be the authors of our own story, to write a story that reflects the core of who we closer to the truth. And, while this is a journey of self-transformation progresses, it becomes clear that the biggest revelation comes from the fact that it's all that you need is already inside of us. The resources, the strength, the inspiration, and the possibilities are all there, just waiting for us to wake up to this fact. When you do this, wake up, we begin to see beyond the apparent limitations, finding a source of never-ending potential, which, until now, been hidden under the layers of doubt and insecurity. So, what seems to be a hard road, if it becomes a path of discovery, where in each step, it strengthens our self-confidence and strengthens our mentality, that we have been able to create a different, more in tune with our dreams, more of the deep. And it is this expansion that we can begin to understand where the true transformation occurs. Above all, on the way, we believe in the power that you have to make a difference in our lives, in the lives of those we love, and the world around us. To the end of this step, I want to make a reflection on the journey of self-discovery and transformation, is in dance-off between accepting who you are and you want to who you can become. With each discovery, each individual decision-making, it is an important piece in the puzzle that fit together to reveal a clearer picture of your true potential. And then, when you realize that it all starts in our mind, it is evident that the greatest impact that we can make come to an inward change, which will inevitably lead in our outer reality. That's the beauty of it, and to understand the behind the scenes of the inner workings, the unveiling of those secrets, we have become the masters of our own history and have been able to create a life that is truly worth living. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the real transformation happens when we realize that our daily decisions, however small they may seem, they have a direct impact on the quality of our journey of self-discovery. It is as if the choice were to be a part of a big puzzle, where the sum of all of them to build the landscape of our lives. And too often, this is driven by the belief that you don't even realize they have those opinions within you, the more invisible, shape our attitudes and our limitations. and therefore, the present results. It's fascinating to see how our way of thinking is almost like a filter on a lens through which we interpret the world. If the lens is fogged by doubt or fear, everything seems to be more difficult and far away. But then, when we were able to clean it up, when you adjust that perspective, everything becomes clearer and more accessible. This change of attitude begins in your mind, but it is manifested in the impact that we have in real life. It is a kind of domino effect. A decision to change the way we think we can trigger a series of actions that, taken together, they create a new history. Think of the transformation as a process of revelation is a powerful way to understand that, behind all that we live in, there is a truth to hide. Our ability to reprogram your mind. And it is this reprogramming is not something that happens all of a sudden, not even skin deep. It requires a conscious, active, with a daily commitment to take care of our thoughts and to recognize the patterns that limit us, and above all, to override these defaults by the other in the drive towards economic growth. This is a behind the scenes, an effort that is quiet. It's like a revolution inside you. Little by little, it will become visible in our attitude, in our trust, and ultimately, our results. When you understand that true transformation comes from within, we begin to realize that our history is not only written by outside events, but mostly for our own responses to those events. This is where comes the importance of having a growth mindset. Learn to see the difficulties as well as opportunities for learning, rather than as obstacles or photography. This is a change of paradigm. That is, the difference between those who get stuck in the routine of those who are able to create a new life, a journey marked by choices that are conscious and aligned with our deepest values. And in the process, we are faced with the revelation that many of the limitations that we have are, in truth, the stories we tell ourselves, of course. The stories of inadequacy, fear, or a lack of self-worth. When we choose to question this narrative, we begin to rewrite our own history, to construct a narrative of capability, courage, and authenticity. It is as if to crack down on the belief that, in the trap, to have some room for a new version of ourselves, the one that you believe in your strength and your ability to overcome and to conquer. And while all this is happening, we can see that the impact of these internal changes are reflected not only in our personal lives, but also in the way that we affect the world around us. It is in work, in relationships, or in the way we think about the challenges of day-to-day life. In this mindset, it becomes a catalyst for transformation, a quiet strength that attracts opportunities, connections, and a chance to be there seem to be unattainable. It is as if we are waking up to the reality of where it all begins inside of us, and that internal change is the one that really has made all the difference in your journey. That is why it is so important for us to understand that real change requires paying close attention to what we feed our minds. Don't you just want a better life? It is necessary to take action in the direction of a mindset that supports this new program. And this, in its turn, is about having the courage to challenge old beliefs, to challenge the limit, and to be open to the new. With each step we take on this path of self-discovery, we are somehow a part to the fact hidden that sets us free from the bondage and invisible, and it prepares us for a life more fully, more in tune with our purpose. And if you think about all of this, it is clear that the journey of transformation is, in fact, it is a journey to self-reliance, courage, and authenticity. After all, when it comes to the control of our mind, we are also in control of me. And it is this narrative that seemed to be written by external forces. You will be a creation of our own, a work of art that we can shape with our own hands. It's a process of awakening to the power that has always been within us, just waiting for an opportunity to manifest itself. And the more you will explore that potential, the more we realize that true change is not something that happens from the outside to the inside, but it is a trend that is born out of a decision-making within the firm for the transformation, which, once committed, can never be undone. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because they are really interested in changing the energy and that understanding into something tangible in your life. You know, this is the awakening is an ongoing process, a journey that is worth it to be explored, each and every day with a calm and caring." And in this way, the connection that you have created in the course of the video, it is essential to keep your motivation alive. So if you feel that the content made sense to you, you can leave a comment by saying, "I'm with you till the end," or some such phrase that shows that you have really followed it all the way up here. It helps a lot to us to know that we are on the right track, and we shared it really does make a difference. Oh, and of course, if this video brought a lot of insight, be sure to give that like, and that is one way to strengthen this connection, and to show that the content is useful to you. After all, he was thinking about you, which we have created for this material, with the intention of helping to build the journey of self-discovery and up to the built-in potential. And here is a hint. There's a video right here on the side that complements all that we talked about right now. Click there, and still am there. It is because you still have so much more to explore together on our journey of transformation. I hope to see you there, and always in that mood light with the confidence that the next step is more of a step in the right direction to do their best. See you next time.